I never get sick of that intro. I'll be honest
No,
with you.
no.
I love it. I would love to drop an F bomb on that one. I effing love that intro. It's amazing. I'll never get sick of it. I mean, I honestly I don't play it outside of when we pre-roll for the show, but I probably could and I probably should just as a
Right,
motivator.
it's hype
It's
music. Yeah, it's
it's
your it's
almost
your it's your
like
walk up song.
it's almost like No Easy Way Out. You just that song just gets you in the zone. It's pretty awesome.
Nice.
And
Totally,
and I'll be honest with you,
totally.
man. Rocky hits home hard. I've lived in Philly. I'm outside of Philadelphia. It's when you see a motivational trigger like that, it's awesome. So
Mhm.
I hate to say enough about me, of course, but I want to get into something with you today, and I want to educate our audience on a couple things. And the tie-in to this educational piece is assets versus liability. It's distribution of wealth, and it's a personal reflection on the how you lived and when you were in Alaska, how you kind of lived what we're talking about, which is modeled after that. And for those of our audience that get sort of triggered when we start talking about this kind of thing, I rest assured it's our job to bring information from a real place. And we're not taking sides on this issue. What we want to do is I'm interested in learning about this from you, Jake, because you lived through and with this, not through it like it's a bad thing, but I would be interested in hearing somebody who, because you lived in Alaska, which is crazy enough, right? This remote, can't get far enough away. You're almost Russia over there, right? So,
If I had a better
it,
arm, I could throw a rock.
I mean, we could probably do a whole episode on just the life stories of you guys in Alaska, being like a coach in Alaska, which I mean, I think like a dog sled coach or something, but that's just me.
See, everybody thinks
So
that. Everybody thinks everybody lives in igloos and runs dog sleds around, and they have that very specific visual image when you say Alaska, or yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, blame movies, okay? Because we all know nothing. Unless you were on an Alaskan cruise in the summer, we know nothing about Alaska, right? And there's
Truth.
oil there, and it's cold, and it's like nice or something. Anyway, so we're talking today. Okay, apparently you brought this to my attention and wanted to talk about it, so I want to ask you a couple questions. This whole sale of public land thing that
Hmm.
the administration is doing, if I'm not,
Hmm.
if I'm right or wrong,
Yep.
and you were talking, I'm going to repeat from a little bit earlier here, but you were talking about how something where you lived in Alaska, this process is, they were doing something similar. Alaska was doing something similar. And you wanted to highlight about it because you had like an epiphany about this thing, or
Yeah.
you have a take on this. So why don't you walk the audience and me through I don't even know what we're talking about, sale of public land. What
And
is
that's
it?
the interesting part is we want to bring this from an education platform. So I want to tie a few threads together for you guys on this one, where Mike's talking about, and this is related to the administration bringing to the table the distribution and sale of public land, which is largely Bureau of Land Management land, is largely what's going on with that. Okay,
Yep.
this was brought by a Utah senator that came across. It's a proposed is an insane amount of real estate. It's a huge thing. So there's something that it's going that will trigger that the administration's trying to get done. And I want to walk you into a couple spaces here. So the first thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to bring it back to how this was relative of what's called the PFD fund in Alaska when we lived there. So let's talk about wealth. Let's start here. Let's start with this. Let's talk about wealth because that's what this conversation is about. What do we know about wealth? So let's talk Dave Ramsey real quick. How do we accumulate wealth? Well, we sell liabilities and we grow assets. That's the basic formula of how you treat wealth, right? If something's a liability, you get rid of it. Dave always talks about just pay off debt, get rid of debt, pay cash for everything. That's his way of reducing and destroying liabilities, and then growing assets. So like cash value life insurance plans, that's an asset. Your home, if you own it, is an asset. Your 401k plans, an asset. Your investments are an asset. Your liabilities are car payments. Your liabilities are medical bills. They're stuff that doesn't accumulate value. Okay, so I want to describe what those two differences are. So one of the things that is happening of why there's two reasons that this is coming up. The current administration, like them or love them, I don't care. Doesn't matter. It's not what I'm talking about. What they understand is the distribution of wealth and how wealth works. You accumulate assets that accrue money, monetary value. You get rid of liabilities, things that are sucking the well dry. They understand that concept. So that's where part of this comes up. There's different types of public land. I want to be clear on that. We've got national forest, which is run, owned by the United States, right? National forest. You have national parks, different thing. You have state parks, different thing. You have state land, and you have Bureau of Land Management. Okay. These are the things. So right now, and I did them in that order accidentally and kind of on purpose, because if you go from what's making money to what's not, top to bottom, national forest makes money because it has logging, it has mineral rights, it does stuff, it makes money, it pays its own bills, it pays its own way. Okay. National parks absolutely make money. Welcome to the tourist industry. They have that going on. The state parks make money. They same thing, tourist industry. Everybody goes to the lake, pays a state parks pass, pays their taxes locally for that. On down the line. Well, you get to Bureau of Land Management. And this is where something I was listening to, and I called Mike right after this podcast, and it was like, my mind just melted out of my ears. It was kind of gross. But I was listening to Joe Rogan, right? I'm listening to the Joe Rogan Experience, and Ryan Callahan he's got a great podcast, and he's on Meat Eater as well. Ryan's a cool guy, super cool dude, really, really down to earth, really, really smart. He made a statement that tied everything together for me. And I don't think that was his intention in making the statement, but it was a brilliant statement, and I want to give Ryan credit for it. He said, generally people, and he was referring to the government in this particular way. He said they don't like to see other people having unregulated fun. Now, he gave that in a different context. The word unregulated slammed into me in this particular space, because what made me realize BLM is unregulated. And he had made the comment that there's nobody standing at a kiosk taking money for the experiences you get to have on Bureau of Land Management. Somebody's out there. Yep, Mike's got a question. Hit me. I know. Timeout. I'm just going for broke. I'm off the rails, man.
So what is Bureau of Land Management land? Like, what are we even talking about? Like some motocross track in South Jersey where people are ripping it by power lines? Are we talking about like mountain hiking? What are we talking about? Like
all of the above. Trail? Bureau of Land Management is a checkerboard. If you look at the West, it is a literal map that looks like a checkerboard. You'll have a yellow square, a blue square, a white square, a yellow square, a white square. It's one square. They're in 1 square mile plots. They are technically public land. It's run by a different agency, the Bureau of Land Management.
But is it a park? Is it a woods?
It's not parks. They're not maintained, right? These are just wild lands. These are non-maintained, just rough and rugged properties that are out there. Some of them completely inaccessible because they're landlocked by private property. That's also a thing with Bureau of Land Management. There's another, and this is a separate one. There's a corner crossing thing going on right now in the West that basically landowners don't want you to jump from corner to corner on these checkerboards, because they feel that you're crossing private property in that airspace. That's a whole separate thing, and that's been through judicial. That's a whole nother episode all by itself. But that's how these are distributed. They're just all over the place. Now, there's very little anything economic going on them. This is just land. You go out and you can go do whatever you're going to do. You've got guys, and Ryan made a great statement. He's like, hey, there's a guy over here riding his dirt bike, and there's a guy over here fly fishing, and that guy's over there hiking, and these guys are just over here camping. It's all the oxen free for the most part. And that's, so that's where he talked about this unregulated fun. There is nobody, we're not, as American taxpayers, we don't pay a bloody thing for BLM. Right? The hunters don't do it. There's no money coming from license fees, nothing coming from fishing license fees. Nobody's got a kiosk doing day passes like the state park. So guess what BLM just became? It became a liability, right? So the
Okay.
current administration, this is where I'm tying this together, why this is partly happening. And there's a thing that's going to happen that this is all triggering. So, Ryan talked about unregulated fund. Well, what if we regulated that fund? Well, those of us that love public lands and love the freedom that we have, by and large, get kind of grumpy when somebody says we want you money to be able to go do that thing.
Yeah,
However,
I'm feeling the dark side of the slip. It's just like anything else. I'm feeling the dark side of the slippery slope of this. So I'm feeling like, okay, well, if it's just kind of free land, isn't that sort of what America's built on, is free land? And we should be able just
and
to
you're
have these
right,
spaces.
right? And there's a huge population that says, yeah, that's what America is built on. It's my right and my freedom to go operate on that piece of property and just do what I want and recreate outside like I want to. I want to fish, I want to hunt, I want to hike, I want to ride my bikes, I want to do all the stuff and all the things. I want to lay out naked under the stars, whatever you're into. It's all cool. That's what they're doing that's what BLM's all about. Right? National forest has a little bit more regulations. National parks have a lot more regulations. State parks have different regulations. State forest has different regulations. BLM is, I don't want to get everybody get the wrong idea, but it is less regulated overall, and nobody's paying for it. So this is where the troublemaker comes in. Because it's unregulated, it's showing up as a liability on the profit and loss sheet. Okay,
Okay.
of all the things, it's showing up as a liability. Now, here's where the business people in the administration, that's a pretty clean way to say that, isn't it? That sounded all right. The business people are looking at that tally sheet. They're saying, okay, this is a liability. How can we create a asset out of it? What do we do with it? All right, so this is where the story is going to take a shift a little bit. There is something in Norway that is called the oh good lord, I just lost it. It's a wealth fund. I'll think of the name of the fund. In Norway, there is I know the word. It's a wealth fund, but this is also something that's been created in Alaska, and it's called the Permanent Fund Dividend. Okay, the Permanent Fund Dividend in Alaska is a state program, whereas obviously Norway is a national program. The administration wants to make a national program via the sale of this BLM property. Here's what the program looks like. For the Permanent Fund Dividend, that comes from the either sale and or lease and or mineral extraction of state-owned property. Mike talked about there's oil in Alaska. Mostly what we're talking about here is the extraction. You've got the pipeline running up across the North Slope, all across. It goes from Valdez, a crazy amount of miles all the way up, and then it gets shipped elsewhere. I mean, if you haven't been to Alaska and driven the pipeline, go do it. It's awesome. It's an incredible piece of
Sounds
real
like a top
estate.
10 experience I want to go do, Jay.
It
I want
is
to go
like if
all the way to
driving it.
Alaska and stare at a pipe.
Well, but the pipe is like, from an engineering standpoint, like, watch that documentary. That was pretty badass. But these
Good
guys,
thing,
like,
good thing
we
you're not
call it
selling
the
tickets,
pipeline
man.
road because that's the only road there is. The pipeline road goes from Valdez all the way up to Prudhoe Bay, goes up and over Adigan Pass. You've seen it on Ice Road Truckers. It's awesome. It is a
You've
nasty
seen it
chunk
on
of
Ice Road
road.
Truckers.
It's such a cool piece of road. But okay, so the oil gets pumped out of the North Slope on state-owned property. The state creates a profit and it creates a fund, the Permanent Fund Dividend, for everybody that is a resident within the state of Alaska. And everybody gets a check. Every resident, men, women, and children, get a check every single year, right about now, actually, about the filming of this, usually in October. And they get a check, get a big honking check every year just for, yay, you live in Alaska. And because we created this fund, this sovereign wealth fund, there's the word. We created this Permanent Fund Dividend. We're going to give you a big chunk of money. We lived there during the Sarah Palin days. Sarah was very liberal with the distribution of the PFD fund. And at that time, we got an insane amount of money. Like we got, for the four of us, my wife and my wife and both my daughters, we basically got a year's wages out of this permanent fund dividend. It was a huge chunk of money that we got the one year because she just said, you know what, that money's just sitting there, give it to the people. And everybody said, yay, give me money, because that's generally what they do. Here's what we saw happen. And I'm going to bring this back to the public land sales piece. And this is where Mike's talking about what our experience was in Alaska about what this was. About every October 15th, whole bunch of money hits everybody's account. Everybody that signed up for it gets a big chunk of money every single year, right? It's a great distribution of wealth from the state back to the people. By all accounts, pretty beautiful thing. Let me ask you this, Mike. Let's think lottery. When I want to say uneducated, it's a mean thing to say, but it's true, right? Somebody that's not good with money gets a windfall of money. What do they do with it?
Go out and blow it.
Go out and blow it immediately. What happens to almost, there's a huge stat, and I think it's over 90% of lottery winners. What happens to them?
They get broke.
They go bankrupt. They actually file for bankruptcy after getting this huge windfall of money. Most people don't know how to spend, or they know how to spend. They don't know how to invest. They don't know how to use this windfall. So I want to bring that background. We saw it every year. October 15th, money would hit the banks that night. October 16th, there was a line a half a mile long outside Best Buy. There were fist fights around big screen TVs. It was uglier than Black Friday. Hated PFD Day. You didn't go to town for PFD Day because everybody was just spending an insane amount of money. And they blew it all in one day. Mike's totally right. So we saw it. We saw the results of what happened because our culture is not ready for it. They're not ready for it. Versus Norway's sovereign wealth fund, they grow up with this. They understand it from the time that they're little kids. Like they've been taught this is a generational thing. It will take time. All right. Here we come back off the rails. We're coming back over to public land sales. And here's how the administration is going to get it done. All of us that are conservationists and recreationists and hunters and fishermen and anglers and all the things, we can go to Congress and we can be mad about it. We say, we don't want you to sell our public land. We want to continue to recreate. By all means, do it. You should do it. Talk to your congressman. Let them know that you have an opinion. Here's where that's going to fall short. Here's where it's going to fail. And here's where I'm going to go back to unregulated in this.
Okay.
The administration's plan with this is to create a similar sovereign wealth fund out of the sale and or lease and or mineral extraction from this. There's been a bunch of articles that seem to disappear real quick about this, and it's interesting. So we'll see if this gets taken down too. What's going to happen by suddenly, there's going to be a stupid amount of money that's going to come from this public land sales. And the intention of the administration is to create a sovereign wealth fund for the American people. The estimated distribution per person is an insane amount of money. We're talking $1 million a pop per person to every American citizen out there. Every single person. Greatest wealth redistribution in the history of the planet is what they're talking about. Whoever pulls this off is going to be named the greatest whatever ever, because the American people are going to love it. That's how they're going to get this passed. If this bill makes it, now there's good and there's bad to this, and this is where I want to come back to the PFDs. Would it be great if every single American person got $1 million in one fell swoop? God, that would be a beautiful moment, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be cool to have this massive redistribution of wealth? Would the vast majority of voters vote for this because they don't ever use BLM? They never go on public land. They barely leave town. Like they barely leave their house. Those are the voters that are going to get it done when they get it done. Now, here's the scary part. A person is smart. Mike is smart. I am smart. Together, we're fairly smart. But if you add 3 or 4 more people in here, we're going to get dumb. Yeah. People are stupid. A person is smart. People are stupid. This mass redistribution of wealth, anytime that we've seen economically, even through COVID, right? We all saw those, I don't even know what they were. They were disbursements that came across. what happened? Immediately prices of goods went up. Prices of stuff went up. It's all relative. You might see suddenly $1 million show up in your bank account, but all of a sudden a tank of gas is going to be 25 bucks a gallon.
Yep.
Like that's how that's going to go. So caution when you guys are listening to this about what's going on. So we talk about this of trying not to have political opinions. I try really hard in this one. So I use public land. I use public land all the time. I am on BLM all the time. Do I want them to sell it because it would reduce my recreation? No, not really. I kind of like my public land. If they sold it and created this sovereign wealth fund that my great grandkids might actually be able to responsibly use, if done correctly, that could be pretty cool.
There's a lot of
What?
ifs, though. I mean, everything comes at a cost. It sounds like who are they selling it
Yeah.
to? What are they using it for? If you've got to disrupt, like you were saying, if four corners of the checkerboard, all four sides, private, 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 and this BLM's in the center, what then? Eminent domain? Do people get roads through their yards? I mean, it sounds like it's a can of worms that
Oh
if
boy.
if you're uninformed about, you need people. It sounds like this is a pretty big deal. I'm surprised that it hasn't been more illuminated. I mean, honestly, it's not exactly a radically exciting topic to talk about land, but the idea that, okay, so if I know politics in any way, shape, or form, and I know people, if there's a fund, there's somebody making money. If there's a profit to be made, there's a skim to be made off the top. That's the Jersey guy in me. That's the hustler in me saying, okay, what's the
I think that's
fix?
accurate.
Who's getting the juice here? And then what's the alternative motive? And then, okay, fine. You start to sell private land. Do you sell it to foreign entities? Like this whole can of worms in my mind opens up. And is the $1 million, let's just hypothetically say you get $1 million, is the $1 million worth the price of the process? I don't know.
Right.
Based on the distribution, it sounds like there has to be. It sounds like some counterpoint people need to get really deep involved in this and start swinging for the fences and saying, "Wait a minute here, whoop, time out." If this deal's going to go through, because again, people can get sold on propaganda. We saw what happens when people believe propaganda, right?
Mhm.
Just go back in history. There's a crazy man that had a lot of propaganda that almost wrecked the entire world. So
Which
there,
time?
you know what I mean. But if you can read between the lines, my people know.
Yep.
Uh, my people that I love and adore know what I'm talking about. But so to me, it all sounds good, but it sounds like a gigantic can of worms, man. Gigantic.
And
I
and
get
it
it.
is. Yeah, and
Everything
it
comes at a
totally is.
cost,
It's
though.
going to I can see way more negative, especially in the short term. I see way more negative in this if it just busts forward. To your point, I think there are so many angles, there's so many pieces that have not been illuminated, they've not been uncovered, they've not
Oh,
been talked about.
and
Of I knowing what happened when people saw a few $1,000s hit their bank account on October, this happened every single year, it's still happening, it's going to happen next week. What we saw from people with a small amount of money, I shouldn't say small amount. 5 grand is probably a lot of money to somebody. It's a good amount of cash, right? But when we
yeah.
saw that particular chunk of change hit the account, the what we saw from a human perspective, I can't even fathom if suddenly they all saw $1 million a piece, what that
Well,
would
truth,
do
truth,
economically.
truth be told, it is Alaska, right? Nothing against Alaska.
That's true. That's absolutely true. I would like to still think there's some semblance of humanity that exists. It's a little more closely knit to that, but it spooks me from that regard. I get to there, right? And so what's one way if you're against the sale of public land? One way to get it done is figure out how to make BLM pay for itself. Figure out how to bring the Bureau of Land Management out of the red and put it in the black. Because if it's in the black, it's now an asset. If it's an asset, the rules of wealth distribution say don't sell it. Even if you can make more money at it, the rules of wealth distribution would say not to do it. And it
So,
will be challenged. So we've got to
well,
figure out. So
but
does that
but I have a different point. I have the long-term repercussions of this point. Again, who are you selling it to? What's the second and third thing we're not seeing once they're a landowner, right? Like if now public becomes private and you've got a bunch of private things in the middle, I mean, are you going to build a skyscraper on that thing? Can you
right?
just turn it into a parking lot? Are you going to land helicopters there? Like what's the deal? Who's buying it? And what are, again, now that I'm a landowner, okay, and now if I build a big building, now all of a sudden my taxes go up. It's because like
Yeah,
in here in New Jersey, depending on what township you're in, if you have a lot of warehouses in your area, you might not see them. Your taxes are half. If you've got no warehouses in your area, and everybody knows, fine, warehouse, this, that, the other thing. It's semi trucks, it's road overload, it's noise, it's construction constantly. It's an eyesore physically, depending on the location. Now they're beautiful buildings in and of themselves. They're well made and they're maintained by whoever's owning them. So, again, I'm just using warehouses and taxes as an example. What's the second and third tier thing we're not seeing, regardless of the cash? What's the cost? There's my not against, but my counterpoint is what are the two or three things we're not seeing that this payoff are we getting a payoff to turn a blind eye to something?
you're 100% right. You're 100% right. That what when you describe it that way, that tells me I wasn't that far off the rails. That I did a pretty decent job of tying it back together, so that Mike's like, "Hey, here's my problem with it. Here's
Yeah,
where
I
I'm
think we
at."
need. I think now we got to wrap here. We're out of time, but I think what people need to do is, again, this is not exactly a hot topic at the moment, but if you know about it, it's on a another big podcast, and they're talking about it. I feel like maybe we're just peeking into we're at the front door of something we're peeking into here that needs some attention from some really intelligent people. And
Agreed.
those of you who are a lot smarter and a lot more influential than Jake and myself, get on your horse there and let's make some noise about this and let's figure this situation out.
Yeah, it's super interesting. So, a couple things before we bail out of this. I know we're up against the wall. Mike and I are having a invite only mastermind that we'd love to bring you on, have you a special episode of Total Disruption. Go to our Facebook page, Total Disruption on Facebook. Private message us there. Hey man, I want to be part of this. I'd love to be part of this greater discussion. We'd love to bring you in. So go to our Facebook page and be part of that. Last one, shameless self promotion. I've got a new book coming out, Days of High Adventure. Mike is reading it right now. You're going to see the links for that pop up kind of everywhere. It's getting ready to come out now. You're going to get it everywhere and anywhere you can get books. You're going to be able to get it on paperback, ebook, and I'm also recording the audiobook version. So you're going to be able to get that one too. So check it out, Days of High Adventure.
All right. Well, for Dr. Clendenning, I'm Michael Libercci. Now it's your turn to disrupt. We will see you next time on Total Disruption. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.